Welcome. Thank you for joining us and attending our May 8th special board meeting. As if you've been paying attention, I guess at our last meeting, we decided to add this special board meeting. So this one will start here at 5:30, and then at the conclusion of this, we'll adjourn, and then we will move into our work session as scheduled. So hopefully all of you have an agenda in front of you. Item number 1 on the agenda deals with our 5 strategies. Item number 2 is our call to order. So Ms. Steves, will you please determine if we have a quorum present?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we do.
Okay, thank you. And I'd ask everybody to stand for the pledge if you're able to.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Bellingham, thank you for leading us in the pledge. All right, this brings us to item number 3, approval of the agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion by Mr. Bellingham, a second by Ms. Steves. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. It brings us to item number 4, Faribault Online Academy, otherwise known as FOA reconsideration. With that, Mr. Benty, I'm going to let you walk us through this.
Yes.
And then we'll look for a motion after that. But I know there's some time you want to spend here on this. So
Yeah. I'll
turn it over to you.
Okay. So first I want to thank the board for taking time to put a special meeting together to reconsider this proposal. So if we remember back in February and March, we were talking about budget reductions and looking at ways that we could save money across the district without sacrificing programs for our students. And one of the things that came through was if we would look to get in a consortium for our online programming with a couple other schools. And the board set aside roughly $580,000 to do that, to pay fees for those students to attend classes in this online consortium. And that was the number that we were quoted at the time. Once we started kind of going into, once the board approved that, then I started working with the individuals and we started getting into more of what the dollars were going to look like. Some of the pieces changed. And actually, once we calculated where we were after that new information, we were going to be well over $1 million. So if you see there, it was a 1.023 million. And that number is, I would say, more on the conservative side. It would go up from there. So with that new information, I halted the talks with the consortium and said I would have to reconvene back with the school board because that was a lot more than what the board had approved. We actually, one day, we had a group of cabinet members along with other building leaders that were in my office, and we decided to see what it would cost if we just simply brought back our Faribault Online Academy and build it up the way that we kind of intended to build it from the beginning. So then what you see here where it says position and cost, this is the breakdown of what we are proposing to reinstitute Faribault Online Academy for a total cost of roughly $840,000, which is a savings of about $180,000 under what the consortium would be, and about $260,000 more than what the board approved in reductions, if that makes sense. So that's kind of the numbers behind it, and I'll open it up to any questions that you have around the programming pieces or numbers.
Mr. Chair, I do. Thank you. So, Mr. Benty, I know currently the coordinator is half-time.
Currently, the coordinator is 0.6.
0.6. And so this proposal is for a full-time coordinator with the ads and all that, et cetera.
That is correct. This is for a full-time coordinator position for that program, yes.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mr.
Jamie, maybe you can go back and tell the history. How did this come about?
Tell the history of how
How all this, it failed. I mean, how did it fail?
Well, I wouldn't say that the program failed. The program, when we were looking to reduce our budgets with minimal impact on our students, then this was a program that we looked at doing that. It was a way for us to be able to cut costs without impacting the program services that the students received. So that, the program has never failed.
Okay, I guess that, I think the public should know exactly how this came about. We had a good program under your leadership, right?
We have, yes, we currently have a program still in place for our online academy.
Okay, but was ways back under your leadership, and then what happened?
Are you talking about before I became superintendent?
Before you came, right?
Okay. So before I became superintendent, there was Mr. Sage, Joe Sage, and I started a prototype program at Faribault High School for about, I'm going to say maybe 24 students. And we were looking to see if we could offer online courses for high school students through Faribault. We put a program together, we put a timeline together on what that would look like to expand programming over the next couple years. Once we went into COVID, what happened was we moved into distance learning, and basically everybody became an online learner. At that time, that program, what would become Faribault Online Academy, the program management was taken away from myself and Mr. Sage and was given to our Director of Teaching and Learning, which was actually a very common practice during that time. And if you look across the state, many Directors of Teachings and Learnings oversee online programming that districts have. So it's pretty common for that to be under that person's guidance. When we came out of COVID and went back into it, we went into the Faribault Online Academy planning, but I will say we weren't as far along in some of the cost-saving measures as what I had hoped we would be. So that was one of the reasons that we looked back in February and March at how we could save money in that program.
Mr. Chair?
Ms. Moore.
Yes, so when you were formulating, basically you were formulating our own program online, correct? Or what was it, because we have Ingenuity now, so what does?
No, so the plan back then
Yes.
was a 3-year rollout,
Yep.
in which year 1 would be using Ingenuity's
Yep.
courses and curriculum.
Uh-huh.
Year 2 would be mixing in some of our own courses
Uh-huh.
or having our teachers teach Edgenuity courses.
Yeah.
And year 3 would be us having the majority of our own courses in
So
place.
it would move into our own.
The idea was to move into our own curriculum.
Yes.
That was the past idea behind it.
Okay,
That is
thank you.
not the current idea, just so
Okay,
everybody
yes,
is clear
yes.
with that.
And then you notice, if I may, as long as I've got the floor here, Ingenuity seat cost, $80,000. Is that for, like a full-time student that
So
goes
it's-
online completely, or is this?
So
what is-
under this
what-
new plan,
Mhm.
which is different than what we are
Yes,
currently doing,
okay.
under this new plan, it's our teachers, Faribault Public
Mm-hmm.
School teachers, that will be overseeing the Edgenuity curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, our cost is reduced to $50 per student
Okay.
per course.
I think you told me that before, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Per student, per
Yep.
course. Okay, thank you.
How many students currently enrolled? Or how many courses, I guess?
So currently, this year, Mr. Gertis, we were looking at, I think, for this school year, we were looking just south of 1,600 courses. But those are calculated, you can't just take that times the 50, because those were calculated different this year than what they will be next year. So that $80,000 is 1,600 courses times $50 per course. All right, we're paying more than that right now.
Yeah, so what percentage of students have been using this? And that includes only one course. If a student's taking one course one time per year, that
So currently-
approximately,
Yep.
what is that? And I
So
I
we
should have asked you
have-
that before, I'm sorry.
Oh, and I should have, yep.
Just approximately, because I know you must have some
Give me
idea.
1 second here to pull this up because I have it right here.
Mr. Gertis, do you have something you want to add?
Well, I think I have the numbers that Mrs. Moore's
Do you have the numbers that,
looking
Yeah, a percentage, yeah, approximately.
Well, I don't have it in terms of percentage.
Okay,
So semester one, we had 150 kids,
okay.
unique kids
Mm-hmm.
taking it. So that would be somewhere in the neighborhood of,
so we had, I got the numbers here.
20%.
Yeah, 144 students were part-time students this school year with Edgenuity.
In semester one.
Yes.
In semester two, it's about 240.
Okay.
So you're looking at about 5%, that'd be 5% roughly in semester one and 8%, 9% semester two. Just quick math.
Do you think more students will be going online or in the future? 5%. It looks like from 144 to 240, but you just don't know. And that's,
What I will say from what I've seen is the numbers are tracking up. They're not tracking down.
That's across the state, I believe, correct?
That's
They're
across the
national.
nation,
Yes,
yes. And we're seeing that exact same piece as well, is that the people that are students that are looking for online learning, either part-time or full-time, is tracking up, not down.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Olson?
Who's going to supervise this program again?
So the coordinator will report to our Director of Teaching and Learning, which will be Julie Hall, starting on July 1st. So up until that point, as of right now, since we are without a Director of Teaching and Learning, the coordinator is reporting to me.
But that's a new person that's coming on, July 1st?
Yes.
Is that going to put a lot of stress on her to do the regular duties of a teacher in learning?
Well, I don't believe so, because it's the coordinator's, the FOA coordinator's position to do all of the work with that program. It's the director's job over them to just kind of oversee the work they're doing and meet with them.
And what happened in the past with this program?
That plan that we had to become self-sufficient didn't happen. So now we're looking at a different plan that is not.
No, I'm trying to get to it. Somebody dropped the ball on this program.
What I will say is that the plan that was put in place did not happen from 3 years ago.
Mr. Chair, so, Mr. Benty, this is our first very own program, Belkin Online Academy, that we will have the ability to oversee every one of these topics. Is that what we're saying? And
Yep.
I mean, we'll have advantages to,
So we will have, they will be our employees. They will be, excuse me, we will have local control over, what we choose to offer, what we don't choose to offer, all of those pieces. So
I think this is the best way to go. Don't have to rely on other school districts. We can modify the programs as we need. The price is a lot better than what we were spending. I think this is a good way to go, and I thank you for organizing it.
Mr. Benty, and maybe this is Mr. Gerd as well, the $260,000 difference from the March budget, that will then come out of the general fund, or where does that come from? And if so, what does that make our general fund look like?
yeah, so I'll answer the first part of that question. The answer is yes. It will come out of our general fund for now, unless we see that there is any money tied to any pieces around online learning that comes out of the legislature. We haven't heard of any or seen anything be passed yet around that. So that will be a general fund expenditure, as are many of our courses. How that affects our general fund, I will let Mr. Gertis speak to that.
So just to clarify that for next year, for fiscal year '24, we still will have some ESSER money that will help offset some of those expenses that Mr. Benty is talking about, as is shown in the exhibit. What it's going to do to the general fund is it will add roughly $50,000-$60,000 of expenses into the general fund, which will obviously lower, right, our percentage by, I'm going by strictly off the top of my head here, 0.4%, right, roughly. But keep in mind, the alternative is if the kids go somewhere else, then we lose a lot more than the $260,000. So that's the alternative, right?
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And then we lose all the gen ed aid, not just a percentage of it.
Mr. Robichaud?
Sure, thank you. Mr. Gertis just mentioned or highlighted, we have students who want this option, the online. If it's not available through us, they're going to go somewhere else to do that online program, be it the consortium with OATANA, whomever they're involved with. So you're right, we could lose some significant foundation aid if we don't offer this option.
And I think one thing to keep in mind is I was on MDE's website today, and there are, I'm going to say, probably right around 100 online providers across the state. And open enrollment works the same way for online providers as it does for in-person providers. So any student at any point can choose any online provider to go to the same way they can choose to open enroll into any district as an in-person student as well. So there's still the potential for us to lose students to other online providers, and you're right, we'll lose a lot more if we don't have an online program ourselves, but there's also the potential for us to gain online students that want to come to us, so.
Is this a gamble or what? We were supposed to market this program, make money, and it was supposed to be a premier program. What happened?
So I do believe that, if approved tonight, there is the absolute ability to market this. We're marketing ourselves up against 100 other providers in the state. So
And I thought we were doing that before, but I guess not.
there was no marketing before for
That's the
our online
problem.
programming.
There was no marketing. No one took control of this program.
Okay, any other
Nice if you told the
real
truth.
deep questions, if you will, for Mr. Benty? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion to approve. I think everybody appreciates this that you put in front of us. You've heard some comments and feedback from people, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the Faribault Online Academy reconsideration.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Boudreau, a second by Mr. Robichaud. Any other further discussion?
Roll call, please.
Mr.
Sure. Yep.
Yes. I would like to say, I do like the idea of developing our own curriculum or our own program. I think that's a good idea. I do have some concerns. I realize that online programs are a great advantage to students because they do give them flexibility, and I think our student rep will attest to that. And I think that's a good idea because I think the students need the flexibility. But I'm also aware that online programs are not appropriate for all students. So I guess with that in mind, I was hoping a higher percentage would be involved in this, although it would be going up. So one of the things, and I think I asked you too about the program, if there was, what the effectiveness was on achievement, and you did say it's only 2 years now, so you just emailed me that, right?
Yep, so
Yes.
we have data from this year, our second semester
Okay.
data. Obviously,
What is it
not-
on, like reading, math, what is it?
We're just looking
science?
at
You're just getting it?
successful course completion.
Okay. Oh, all right, gotcha. like I say, I do like this, but I have a concern, and it was like a few weeks ago, we had members of the public present who were questioning the effectiveness and biasness of Edgenuity. And, you know, we did ask students about the questions, and I asked some students, I was one of them, and they did give their honest, subjective responses. However, one presenter did provide an objective, concrete evidence demonstrating political biasness regarding Edgenuity. And this was given in the form of an actual copy of an Edgenuity worksheet given to all school board members. And to me, this is very concerning. And I think I need to remind everyone that indoctrination comes in very subtly. It's like a little fox. It has to come in unnoticed. And in fact, I think at first it only may infiltrate in a couple of classes. But I know it's infiltrated in at least one. And I don't know how many more. I do know that the parents of the child I spoke with have repeatedly warned their child of the micro expressions of biasness. And that is, it comes in slowly and quietly. And I think unless you have a trained eye, you probably aren't going to see it that much, but I think this demonstrated it quite well. So I guess I have a rhetorical question. And I said, with this documented political biasness found on Edgenuity worksheet, do you as board members really want to improve this program? And in light of this documented biasness, I think this is protocol, I can do this. I make a motion to table this resolution in favor of creating our own online piece that we should have done in the first place that is free of political or any other form of biasness. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion to pass, to approve the FOA reconsideration as presented. We have a motion and a second, and now I just heard you'd like to make an amendment to
Yes.
table. Is that?
Table this
I'm
so
getting
we
that
can.
correct?
Yes, I'd like to actually see if we can develop our own online program.
Okay.
Because I think that's.
So, sorry, I'm just writing this down. Ms. Moore has made a motion to amend this to table it. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Bellingham, you have a comment? Or
Mr. Chair, I have a point of order. The motion is out of order because in a motion to table, you must have a specific date in which we will bring it back to the table here, and there was no such specific date. It was just a motion to table. Are you going to table it indefinitely, or are you going to table it for a year, or whatever? There was no motion. The motion did not specify how long to table, or
Can I
when we would bring
amend
that
my
back.
motion? My motion? Yes, what about, I think this summer would be a good time to work on this. How about June? And there's a certain date, I'm not sure what the date would be, but when we vote.
So I'm following through the proper, trying to follow through the proper process here before we get to any more discussion on it. So you are saying June. What,
Whatever the date would be when we vote. What is it, June?
when our board meeting is in
Yes,
June?
yeah.
Our,
Is it June?
24th.
I'm sorry, I don't have it up here.
no, you're good. June 26th. Thank you, Ms. Zavro. June 26th. So you'd like to table this until June 26th?
Yes, and I don't know if it's possible to make a motion to, and I'm not sure how to do this, but I think we should do our own program, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, thank you.
So however protocol that is. Because I'm very concerned.
I'm just going to move along with Ms. Moore's amendment to table until June 26th. I'm not going to go through an amendment.
Is the
to
second
amend.
okay with that?
Mr. Olson, do we have a second for
Yeah, second.
that? Okay,
Second.
we still have a second. Okay. Further discussion on this item?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Robichaud.
I guess maybe I'm sunstroke or something, but I'm confused. I thought that's what we were doing, was creating our own online program with what Mr. Benty has proposed tonight. Am I missing something?
Well, we're placing, We're doing this with ingenuity, and I have a problem with that because of this biasness. And so,
Is that one example that you're giving?
well, I think it's a good example.
Is it a one example?
There's one example, and there's some
Okay,
other ones
thank
in
you.
here that I can show you if
Thank
you
you.
wish.
Okay, thank you. For other further discussion. Mr. Benty, I just have a question for you in terms of big picture. If we did table this till June 26th, what would happen to all the students that are already registered for classes that start at the end of August next year? What would that look like?
If I'm understanding the motion correctly, is you want us to write all of our own online curriculum?
Yes, I think that'd be a good
Okay.
idea.
That's impossible by next school year.
Bless you, somebody.
So that won't happen by next school year because we won't have the time to do all of that. The reason we kind of pushed it up was to try to get everything in place before the end of the school year so that those students that have registered for online courses, we can carry them over into next school year. It would not be possible for us to write all the courses that students have registered for next school year for an online program.
And so basically, if we don't provide our students that have registered for an online FOA, we're either really disrupting what their plan is, or we're encouraging them to go elsewhere and find online courses elsewhere, which means additional funds out the door that would follow them.
Students would have to make a choice. Do they come back in person to Faribault Public Schools, or do they find another online provider?
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
I'm going
Mr.
to call for the question
Okay, the
on the
question,
amendment.
okay. Okay, all those in favor of,
Wait a minute. You have a motion for calling the question.
so we need a second of that motion?
That's correct.
Okay, sorry,
Sorry.
hang on here. Okay, so now Mr. Robichaud has made a motion to call the question. Do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, now we will vote on calling the question, and basically that means then there's no more discussion. We're heading right to a vote.
That is correct. And it does need a 2/3 majority.
Okay, so all those in favor of calling the question, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
No,
I'm sorry, is that 5-2, or am I wrong on that?
I'm an aye.
An aye, a no, an aye, an aye,
Or aye, sorry.
aye, a no.
Aye.
So that's 2 out of 7. That's 5-2. Okay, so the question has now been called. Okay, so now we're back to the vote on the amendment to table until June 26th. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
so this is aye.
Aye.
Roll
And-
call.
And this is where you requested a roll
Roll
call
call.
previously, okay? So Ms. Steves, will you please do a roll call on this? So this is just to make sure everybody knows what they're voting on. If you vote aye, you're in favor of tabling this until June 26th. If you vote no or nay, you are not in favor of tabling until June 26th.
And Mr. Chairman, can you take a question at this point?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Linda Boudreau?
I'm sorry, repeat the motion.
Okay, so the amendment that Ms. Moore put forth,
Okay.
and that was seconded by Mr. Olson, is to table this until June 26th. If you are in favor of
Nay.
that amendment, okay, everybody knows, okay.
You said nay, I'm sorry.
Nay.
Linda Moore?
Aye.
John Bellingham?
Nay.
Chad Wolf?
Nay.
Nancy Steves, nay. Richard Olson?
Aye.
Jerry Robichaud?
Nay.
Okay, so thank you. That amendment fails 5-2. So now we're back to the regular, that was Faribault Online Academy reconsideration as presented. This does have a motion by Ms. Boudreau, a second by Mr. Robichaud. Any further discussion? I will just state that I think this is the best plan forward. I'm glad we're not at the mercy of any consortium or any one individual school district. I'll be polite, Mr. Benty, and leave it at that. And I think, I just absolutely think in the world of mobility that our students and their families depend on something like this. And this is a bit of a new norm, if you will. So I applaud our district, I applaud you, I applaud our leadership for getting together on this, and I hope it's an overly successful opportunity and program.
Mr. Chairman, I would agree with that. I think it's very important that our students have this option. By postponing this vote, they would not have the option, and I am not going to sit here and allow that to happen. I think it's very important. I know how much my grands are using it, other students are using it. It gives them such another option that they don't have here with the regular courses. And everyone learns differently. Some students prefer to work on their programs from home. And I think that's the trend, and I am very supportive of that. So I thank you for providing this, that we have the ability to manage these offerings, course offerings. They can be influenced by the teachers in both ways, good and bad. But that's what we're here for. And I think we know what our roles are, and I am thankful we have this option.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Ms. Moore.
Yes, I will just say that I will not compromise when it comes to the indoctrination of our students. That's it.
Thank you. Any other?
I think he mentioned he wanted a roll call.
Yep. But I just want to make sure, any other discussion or comments, anyone? Okay. Yes, yes, Mr. Olson.
Again, I'm confused. So who's going to supervise this so it doesn't fail again?
The Director of Teaching and Learning will supervise the coordinator of this program.
And she's new.
Yes,
She'll be new.
yes.
I'm very concerned with that.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay.
Ms.
Ms. Steves, will you please do a roll call as requested?
Linda Boudreau,
Aye.
Linda Moore,
Nay.
John Bellingham,
Aye.
Chad Wolf,
Aye.
Cassie Steves, aye. Richard Olson,
No.
Jerry Robichaud,
Aye.
passes 5-2.
Okay, thank you. This brings us to our item number 5 on the agenda, the adjournment. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Wait a
Oh,
second.
I'm sorry. I got to make a motion. Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
I know I missed a lot of stuff, but I didn't know what I missed
That's
there.
right,
So,
that's right.
okay, the motion was by Ms. Moore, the second by Ms. Steves. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. So this regular meeting is now adjourned. I'll do that. We are going to take a 5-minute break. We're going to allow people to come up here, and we'll get started in 5 minutes. So roughly, that clock will say, roughly 6:13 or so.